Mark from L&M Small Engine. Everybody watches my videos, and I'm always fixing customer lawnmowers and chainsaws and weed eaters, etc. But I never show you guys what I do when I'm not doing that. And I like racing lawnmowers. And I was watching on the internet a few times, and you see these lawnmowers that they say they're racing lawnmowers and stuff, and I kind of got a little giggle to that. So I'm going to show you a video on my lawnmower and what I all did to my motor, and we'll start it up. So hope you enjoy the video. Yeah, I'll show you the power plant in this thing. It's a 44 cubic inch Briggs & Stratton twin cylinder engine. It runs on methanol. That's the gas like what sprint cars use. It has an alcohol carburetor on it. It has roller rockers in it. That's why it has oversized valve covers. I'll get the camera closer here. It has a high torque starter on there. Here's a normal starter for a Briggs & Stratton. This here is a high torque starter. Then the flywheel, that's a billet flywheel with adjustable timing on it. You just loosen up the Allen head bolts on top and you can adjust the timing on it. Because when you burn alcohol, it takes like 1/100 of a second slower and for it to ignite. So you have to advance the timing on it. And there's the big carburetor. I want to take it off and clean it up because I haven't started this up in a while. Make sure everything's clean there, but I'll show you the centuries in this compared to a stock carburetor. Then on the front end here, the spindles are adjustable where you can raise them or lower them. And I got two Heim joints where you can adjust the camber on each front tire. And this is a circle track dirt racing lawnmower. It's not like a road course one or drags or nothing like that. This is for strictly oval track racing. See how it's offset. And the transmission is an 820 Peerless transmission. Everything in the transmission, all ball bearings. And it has a dual cylinder brake assembly on it. But we'll go ahead and take the top cover off. And like I said, I want to take the carburetor off, make sure it's clean before I start it, and I'll show you all that stuff. I'll show you a couple of back tires. This is what a brand new tire looks like after a 25 lap feature. Like it's almost bald. I started racing these things back in 2004 full time. And I did it for 10 years full time. And the most popular part of it, there's like 4 tracks within a 200-mile radius of where I live. In certain tracks, you had to use like Hoosier dirt tires, and that's one feature race there. You know, I just wanted to show you that. But I raced full time from like 2004 to like 2014 or 15, and kind of doing it part time after that. And last couple of years, you know, there's really not many tracks left around here. The popularity of it went way down. But every now and then they'll have a track around, and we'll just go putts around, show people what it can do. So anyways, I'll start tearing this thing apart. Okay, I'm taking the top blower housing off now. Yeah, back in the big popularity of this, I built a lot of these racing motors for people, but this is the first one that I ever stroked out. And make a long story short on that, the first stroker I put in here is a .333, and on the 44 cubic inch blocks, they either came out with an inch diameter shaft or an 1.125" diameter shaft. We made this one 1.25 inches. Then at the old John Deere implement here in town, they had them old-fashioned dynos made. They were made for like them old 2-cylinder John Deeres. It's like a big oblong barrel-looking thing on 2 wheels. It had a seeing glass thing in it, and they either filled it with water or oil. I don't know. That's, you know, dynos nowadays put your car or whatever on rollers and everything's computer generated and all that stuff. But back then I built this one in 2006. So anyways, we put it on that dyno, but we had to gear reduct it because they checked the PTO horsepower on them tractors. We put it on there and it broke the PTO shaft off of this. And I had to spend a lot of money on a custom crankshaft and everything on it. So I had the guy that made that one, I had to make me another one. And the camshaft or the crankshaft in this one here is a .533 stroker. And the PTO shaft on this one's 1.5 inches. Anyways, this motor is a 44 cubic inch block, and the heads are a 49 cubic inch. They come off a 49 cubic inch Briggs and Stratton. The valves are like 25% bigger, the exhaust and intake. I believe the exhaust is like 25% bigger, and the intake is like 30% bigger, or vice versa, one of the two. But anyways, I'll pop these valve covers off, so I want to check the re-gap them because these have roller rockers in there. But anyways, when they put that new crankshaft in here, I'm not going to tell you what that dyno said because you'll probably think I'm lying, but it was unreal what kind of horsepower this thing made. And the cam was made, who made that cam? It's called Precision Cams. I believe it was out of California. I told them what range, because on cams you can make them a low, mid, or high range cam depending on what you use it for. I'm gonna have to replace this hose here is kind of stiff. But anyways, this motor purrs like a kitten at 7,300 RPM. So the cam that I make is high mid range and low high range. So like between 1,600 RPM and 7,500 RPM. That's when this cam really starts to work. And the story on why I use methanol in this thing now. When I first built it, I was using 110 octane by VP Fuels. When you start the race, you have plenty of horsepower, especially on hot summer nights when it's really hot out at night and a lot of humidity. Towards the end of the race, you could sure tell that you were losing horsepower. Like certain motors run better cooler, and other motors like to run better hotter, if that makes any sense. But this particular motor likes running cooler. And it's kind of crazy. On a hot summer night, these intakes, they get a light frost on them. Kind of cool how it does that. Then the oil pump on this motor, I can show you a stock oil pump. This one here has 5 compartments. They made me one that has 6. And when we start up, I'll show you the oil pressure gauge. It has like 40 to 50 pounds oil pressure in this thing. It's really amazing what you can do with these small engines. We have to have these oversized valve covers in here because the lifters are so big. Hope I don't tear the gasket. There's the lifters on this bad boy. And another thing we did on the valve springs, there's a big theory that, when you run a motor at high RPMs and it starts cutting out, people think, well, it's a fuel issue or a spark issue. Well, it actually ain't, because when at high RPMs, the valves are actually getting behind. So I'll grab a flashlight. So this has dual springs on it. See if I can get the camera close here. If you can see in there. See, there's 2 sets of springs on there. That's so at high RPMs, the valves ain't actually lagging behind. If you ever build a motor like this and you get up in high RPM range and it starts cutting out, you'll think, well, maybe it's a fuel issue. That's an issue. 80% of the time, it's actually your valves are getting behind. This thing has tremendous compression. See how much them valves open up? So it's pulling a lot of fuel in there when it does that. But yeah, this thing, a lot of compression. That's what has that high torque starter on there. But anyways, let me put Gab in here and pop this intake off. Oh, and the push rods. I gotta show you the push rods on this thing too. Move that hose. See the push rods right there? See how big they are? That's a stock push rod for this. Look at the size difference. See, when you build a fast motor, you gotta think of all this kind of stuff. It took me some time to figure all this out, but at the time when this thing was really popular and built it, I'm not saying it was the most powerful motor by all means, but it had to have been in the top 100. It had to have been. But nowadays, Briggs and Stratton and Kohler and them, that they're coming out with them EFI engines that electronic fuel injection. You know, fuel injection is the way to go. So I'm sure if you hop up them motors, you'd probably blow this thing out of the dang doggone water. No, and I'm not fixing people's stuff. This is the kind of stuff I just love doing. Tinker around on stuff, trying to make it better and experiment with different stuff. Unhook all these springs. You have to have all them springs on there in case your throttle gets stuck or something. When I run the hammer line for the fuel pump, run it right off the intake here. Anyways, on these heads, see how big around they are? Ported and polished. It's like a chrome finish in there. Anyways, their heads are ported and polished. Well, I'll go ahead and take this air box cover off, and I'll show you the ventures in this thing. Then you got your independent adjustments. Okay, here's a stock 44 cubic inch carburetor. See how much bigger them things are? And see how it's polished and ported in there? Looks like it's chrome in there. Look at the difference. What's the other one I wanted to show you? The one thing bad about using the methanol, you use twice as much gas because the jets are twice as big. But like I said, this motor just loves to run cooler. You know, their motors I built that weren't strokers, they love the 110 octane or even 92 or 91 premium, I guess it is around there. Then the pistons in this thing are Wiseco pistons, billet rods, custom rods because it's a stroker. What else is there? Just so many goodies. Oh, the whole inside of the motor has axle bearings in it. I'll show you. Like when I used to race all the time, but every 10 races out of refreshing all the bearings and everything in there. The cam, the crank, everything has these kind of bushings in them. The whole thing, cam, crank, piston rods. So about every 10 races, I would tear the motor all apart and put all new bearings in there, put new rings in there. So let me get this carburetor put back on here, and we're about ready to fire this bad boy up. Okay, I don't got the microphone on because this thing's gonna be really loud. I'm gonna go and start it up here real quick. I got this little cap right here because on a cold engine that runs methanol, it's really hard starting, so I got this little cap on here. I can spray a little bit of carburetor cleaner in there. Hey, what in the kingdom of God are you doing? Okay, I got the microphone back on. Like I said, that thing is really loud. When I was revving up, it was like about 94, 9,500 RPM. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. It's getting too dark out. It's November 20th, and it gets dark like a little after 5 o'clock. So tomorrow afternoon, we'll take it out back and spin around. So watch for that video too. But anyways, thanks for watching. Really appreciate it. You have a good afternoon.